You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you?
God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get. Leave people alone.
You'll never come back again.
Oh, shut up, Ralph.
It's got a death curse.
Hi, and welcome to the new Monster-Mania YouTube channel. I'm Dave Hagen, the promoter of Monster-Mania Con, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here with our first video. If you like what you're seeing, please slash the like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Well, if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th films, you really are starting to think that there truly is a death curse on the series. We haven't had a new film in the series for 12 years now, since the 2009 reboot film where Derek Mears donned the Jason mask. Now comes word that the founder of the franchise, Sean Cunningham, has filed a new lawsuit, this time against Universal and Paramount Studios. What does it all mean for the future of the franchise? We'll break it all down here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our first video here on YouTube. With our history of having so many Friday the 13th stars at our shows dating back to our very first show in 2003 with Kane Hodder and Betsy Palmer, and with news of the new lawsuit, I thought this would be the perfect way to kick off our new YouTube channel. Before we get into the details of the new lawsuit, we'll give you a little bit of history of the previous lawsuit that's actually still tied up in courts. I know fans constantly ask, when are we going to get a new Friday the 13th film? We've seen a lot of fan-made films. Some are good, some not so good. But I'm sure everybody wants to see Jason Voorhees with the hockey mask back up on the big screen. So what's preventing it? Why the holdup? So back in 2016, writer Victor Miller evoked the copyright law to get the rights back to the script for the first 1980 Friday the 13th film. There's this law that says that an author who sells the copyright to their work can formally request to get their copyright back after 35 years has lapsed. This recently happened with Wes Craven estate getting back the rights to the first Nightmare on Elm Street film, and Clive Barker recently has filed to get back the rights to the first Hellraiser. So when Victor Miller filed his lawsuit, Sean Cunningham, who's the producer and the director of the first film, he in turn filed a lawsuit against Victor Miller to prevent him from getting the copyright. Sean argued that Miller never owned the copyright for the first script because he was an employee at the time that he wrote it. By law, if Miller was an employee, he has no claim to the copyright. If he wrote the script first and then sold the copyright afterwards, he is then entitled to get the copyright back. So it's all a matter of whether Victor Miller was an employee at the time that he wrote the script, or whether he wrote the script first and then sold it. If he wrote it first and sold it, he is entitled to get the copyright back. So the lawsuit went to court, and the court did rule in Victor Miller's favor, saying that he was not an employee at the time and he did have a right to own the copyright. Sean Cunningham's company, Horror Incorporated, filed an appeal saying that the judge made an error in the ruling. That appeal was heard before 3 judges in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals back on February 13th of 2020, where both sides presented their arguments, but a ruling was not made. So to make matters even more complicated, one of the 3 judges in the trial died at the end of 2020. So now a new judge has to be selected. That judge has to start fresh, study the whole case from the beginning all over again. So it's just going to prolong things more and more and more. So when the decision is finally made, the court can make one of 3 decisions. The first one is they can reaffirm the initial ruling, which would say that Victor Miller was not an employee at the time, and he does own the copyrights to the script for the first film. They can reverse the decision and say Sean Cunningham employed Victor Miller before he wrote the script, and therefore Sean Cunningham retains the rights to the copyright for the film. Or they can decide to send it back to trial at the district court level, which would mean it would go back and start all over again. So if the court does decide to rule in favor of one of the 2 parties, the party that didn't win has the option of filing yet another appeal which would take it before the Supreme Court. There's no guarantee that the Supreme Court would accept the case, but if it did, that would prolong things even longer. To complicate things even more is that when the first trial was had, the judge opted not to decide who owned the character of Jason Voorhees. Certainly, the adult hockey mask wearing killer is completely different than the character of young Jason that Victor Miller wrote in the first script. So even when the court does decide who owns the copyright to the first film, the issue of who owns the rights to the character of the adult Jason still needs to be determined. That can be either determined through a compromise between Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller, which, given the history, I don't know how easy that would be, or it could go back to another trial, another lawsuit over who owns the rights to the adult Jason. So whichever way you look at it, it's going to be a while before we see Jason on the screen. Then late last week, The Hollywood Reporter announced that Sean Cunningham had filed a new lawsuit, this time against Warner Brothers and Paramount over net profits from the horror franchise. According to that complaint filed on Thursday in Los Angeles Superior Court, the studios distributing the films had systematically misaccounted contingent compensation. Cunningham says audits revealed that there was improper deductions of fees and bonuses, undervalued licenses, and underreporting of merchandising revenue and pay TV income and other shenanigans, basically by Paramount and Warner Brothers. He alleges that Paramount and Warner Brothers have redacted their package license agreements, preventing him from fully understanding the flow of the money. He also surmises that they're withholding documents that would show a full accounting of the profits. Honestly, that's nothing new in Hollywood. Back in 2017, Robert Kirkman, who's the writer of the Walking Dead comic book and the television series, he sued AMC, accusing them of hiding profits from the popular television series. Also, Frank Darabont, who was the driving force showrunner behind the first season of The Walking Dead, he sued AMC both for wrongful termination when he was let go after the first season, and also for accusing AMC of hiding profits from the show that he was owed. And then on Friday, our good friend Larry Zerner, who you might recognize as Shelley from Friday the 13th, Part 3, he weighed in on the situation and he did some digging. And he said that the current lawsuit filed by Sean Cunningham was basically regarding only the 2009 reboot. He said none of the other films were part of the lawsuit. He said the lawsuit alleges that the defendants basically used, quote, Hollywood accounting to cheat Sean out of money that he was supposed to get from the reboot. It's a fairly common lawsuit in Hollywood and probably will result in the defendants paying Sean some money in the future. He then posed the question, will this stop any future Friday the 13th films from being produced? He said it's hard to say. If things work out with Victor Miller, and that's a big if, there's nothing stopping Sean and Warner Brothers from going forward on a new movie. He said, in fact, it's better to get some money going in a new production rather than wait for a lawsuit to end, but either side could use the lawsuit to push for better terms on a new production. In Larry's humble opinion, if the Miller case is resolved, there will be a new movie made. Who knows when that's going to be? It's been super complicated with the judge dying. That certainly didn't help any. If whoever loses the appeal decides to appeal further to the Supreme Court, that will drag stuff on longer and longer. You know, it's a shame. There was supposed to be a sequel to Freddy versus Jason. It was going to be called Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. That was going to star Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead series. The script was, I believe, made into a 4-part comic book series that you can probably still pick up at your local comic shop if there's any of those open anymore, or you could find that online or possibly on eBay. There was talk of a sequel to the 2009 Derek Mears Friday the 13th film. A script was written that was going to take place in the winter. It was going to be the first on-screen kills of Jason Voorhees in the snow. That never came about. My guess is even if a settlement or a court decision was made tomorrow, given the amount of time that has passed since the 2009 film, they'd probably do yet another reboot. I don't know if that's what fans would want to see, but I mean, at this point, I would take any version of Jason Voorhees on the big screen to having nothing. There's been, a number of fan-made films of varying degrees of quality, some good, some not so good. But tell me what you think. Would you like to see a sequel to the 2009 film? Would you like to see them pick up with where they left off with Kane Hodder? Would you like to see yet another reboot of the series? Do you not care? Has it been too long? Has too much time gone on? Have you lost your interest in Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th? Are you just satisfied with what we have and let it end where it ended? Let me know what you think. Write in the comments below. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. It's our first one, so we'd appreciate all the likes that we can get. If you'd like to get more content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Sure do hope to see somebody and everybody at the conventions again whenever we can have them when this damn pandemic is over. But in the meantime, keep watching horror movies and stay scared. Thanks for watching.